So they're gonna follow Zank to the Underdark, where he says is where he hid the helm.
Yes. Bum, bum, bum.
And they have to go through the orifice to get them to the Underdark.
Yes.
Hi guys, welcome back to today's episode. We're going to be doing a deep dive and discussion of the new film, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. I wonder if they put that little Honor Among Thieves because there's going to be a bunch of these films.
Could be. I could see it.
Yeah.
I would probably go watch more of them.
Yeah. So we like this movie.
We did.
I think before this film, the one that we watched that we enjoyed as much as this was probably RRR.
Yes.
All
It
the
was
films-
definitely not Tar.
All the films between then and now were like, okay, or if you're Tim, you hated them. But we really did like this one quite a bit. So we went to go see this in the theater. There was like an Amazon Prime early screening.
Yep.
Official release date is March 31st.
31st. That's correct.
And I wanted to look up who the director was. It says John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein.
Yes.
And it stars Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Reggae Jean Page, Justice Smith, Sophia Lillis, and Hugh Grant. Also Chloe Coleman, Daisy Head. We could go on and on. But
yes.
Those are the main cast.
There was a horse. They had horses.
Yeah.
There was a dragon. They had dragons.
There was a couple dragons.
I didn't catch the dragons' names, though.
Well, actually, no. One of them did have a name. It was like Rhaegar or something. I was like, whoa, that sounds a little bit like Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. I thought the same thing, too.
So we are going to be, as is usual for our videos, giving you a full rundown of this film. So if you want to watch the movie before we tell you everything that's going to happen, maybe just save this video for after you've watched it if you don't want spoilers. However, if you would like to go ahead and get the scoop on what this movie is about now, then we are going to run you through the whole thing. But before we do, we always give like a one-sentence description of this film with no spoilers.
No spoilers.
So you can decide if this is something you might be interested in. So Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves is just like a crew adventure. They have some problems they need to solve. They have some vengeance. And they're gonna do like some quests together. And there's like a magician. There's not really a healer. But if you've played any kind of role-playing game, whether it's on the computer or actual Dungeons and Dragons, you know that different crew members have their different purposes. And that's pretty much what it's about.
Yeah, pretty much. They have like the same healer I have every time the two of us run World of Warcraft together.
I purposely usually don't try to heal.
I've definitely noticed that trend.
I don't think they technically have a healer, right? Or did I miss that?
No, they did not. They did not have a healer. But then again, when I play WoW, I don't have a healer either.
Okay, so I felt like this was a very fast-paced film. Like, it was just constantly... I almost couldn't take notes fast enough. Sometimes I just wanted to sit there and just watch it, but I was, like, too busy taking notes.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to watch it again.
I'm sure this is probably one we'll buy.
Yeah.
But I don't think we need to go see it in the theater again, do you?
I take Salem and see it, because he wasn't there with us. So.
Yeah. We did take the girls.
We did.
There were some parts that were, like, slightly scary, but... our girls were fine, so.
Yeah, they seemed fine with it, which really surprised me because there were a couple of them I went, whoa, Nelly.
Which part?
The zombie part.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, so now we're going to go ahead and tell you about the whole thing. So,
spoilers.
Big old spoiler alert right now. If you don't want to know, push pause and save the video. Okay, so Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, I put a note at the end, but I put it at the top so I could mention it, that this felt like Thor Ragnarok. Like, it's adventure combined with humor. It wasn't too silly that you're like, wow, those were dumb jokes. Yeah. But it was like really fast-paced adventure.
Yes. With
like serious threats to the people.
Yes. With
humor. And like a whole crew of people that you're rooting for.
Yeah, I can go with that.
Okay. So we begin the tale in a frozen tundra. There is a wagon running towards this highly guarded tower. And a troll in chains is brought into the tower, and we figure out that it's a dungeon. So we're in the dungeon of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
So he's put into a cell with Edgin and My autocorrect put golf. No, it's Edgin and Holga.
Holga, yeah.
So those are our two main characters. That's Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez.
And Michelle Rodriguez.
So he instantly, the mean old troll, is a really brutal looking guy. He goes up to her and he's about to aggress on her, and Chris Pine's like, no, don't do that.
I wouldn't do that.
And so then she just puts her little potato down she's eating, and then she just.
Yeah, and that's kind of an inside joke the whole way through the movie is the potato.
Her with the potatoes.
Yeah.
So all the action, not all the action, but a lot of the action's going to be coming from Holga. She's like your barbarian, your tank class kind of character in this film. So then they're out like chopping the ice and chains. They're out working for the prison, and they're talking about how Edgin always is really positive the whole film. He's always like, I know we got this. It's going to be fine. And so he's telling her it's going to be great. We don't know what they're about to face, but they're going to an absolution council. Once we get there, he starts telling a tale of why they're there. Yes. So we get some backstory. And he's sitting in front of like 4 people.
Well, there's supposed to be 4, but Jonathan's not there.
Yeah. So, and also in this world, there are not only humanoids. Obviously, we already said there's trolls, but there's people that are fully animal.
Yeah, so like if you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, it's just like that. You know, you have
I've never played as a raven before.
No.
Is that pretty common?
No, that's usually not a player character.
Okay.
Player characters are more
humanoid.
like Holga, her husband.
So Edgin tells of his beginnings as a spy in this guild called Harper. It's the Harper Guild, and they're a guild of spies. He had a wife and a very young daughter. His wife encouraged him to do this spy work, and you don't find out till the very end, but he gets found out for some kind of work he did, and the person that he stole something from comes and murders his wife and stabs her with a red witch sword.
Yeah, red sorcerer.
Something about the red sorcerers. If you get injured by this weapon, there's no coming back.
No coming back.
So unfortunately, she dies, but not before she had hidden her child. So now he's a single dad with a very young daughter. She's probably like 6 to 9 months old.
Yes, absolutely.
So immediately he falls into an alcoholic depression, and who
hasn't been there?
So he's trying to care for this baby, not doing it very well. And by the way, this is just like this. It's just going do 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 do. There's no slow spot in this film at all. I didn't find it. It was just constant. And the way he's telling this story is also very humorous. He's jumping back and forth talking to the council, and it's funny, guys. It's a good time. So along comes Holga, and it says she takes pity on me and my child, and basically she pairs up with him non-romantically. They have a brother-sister kind of relationship, helps him raise his child. They decide to start thieving together.
Yes.
Because they're both kind of like outcasts of their people, because we don't know the particulars of it yet, but married somebody that was not accepted by her people.
Or by her tribe.
And so she was cast out from her tribe. And then he actually ended up divorcing her, so she was alone. So she was really upset. So when his wife died, he blamed her death on the Harper Guild, so he broke ties with them, broke his oath. So they're both outcasts. So they decide to start thieving, and they pick up a few more crew members. They pick up Simon, who is a not very skilled sorcerer.
Correct.
They pick up a con man named Forge.
Yes.
And was there one more?
I don't think so.
So along comes this sorceress, Safina, and she comes to the crew and asks them to help her. It's like not even spelled out that much in the movie. You just see this lady coming in, she's asking for help, and Forge is like, hey, if you do this, I'm pretty sure the place where she wants us to go steal this thing from, there's also this tablet of
awakening?
Something, it makes it so he could potentially resurrect his wife.
Right.
And so he decides to go do this job. And even though it's like dangerous, he doesn't really want to do it and work with this sorceress lady. He decides to go do it so he could have the chance to res his wife.
And it should be noted that the reason they came to him was because it's in the Harper stronghold.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh.
And that's why they came to him, because he's a Harper.
Okay.
And he can help them break into where it's at.
Definitely missed that. So they get in there and they're starting to steal the stuff. He finds the tablet while the sorcerer lady finds what she wants. And then the sorcerer tricks them and she puts a time spell around
Yes.
first Holga, and Edgin goes to leave with the tablet to go res his wife, and he's going to leave Holga there, and then he trips something.
Well,
and
he gets like his legs get caught up in a time slowing spell because
so
it's an expanding bubble of time slow.
so he gets stuck there too. And he tosses the tablet to Forge and he says, "Take care of my child."
Yes.
So they're trapped. That's how they ended up in prison. Now
Correct.
we're finally back to where we started. They're in the prison and they're appealing to be able to get out. This is like their parole hearing or something,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
So in the meantime, the whole time they're talking to the council, he keeps going, "But where's Jonathan? Where's Jonathan? I really wish that he were there." And they're like, "Stop it. It's fine. He doesn't need to be here." So finally this bird walks in. And right after they've like stamped whether or not they're going to parole them, he's like, "Don't make up your mind till Jonathan." He walks in, and they both, Holga and Edgin, jump for him, and they crash him out a window. Like they fall on him, and he falls out the window. And that's why they were waiting for Jonathan.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to me because the council member's like, "Jonathan," or something as he's falling out the window, and this bird is just like,
And what's really funny too is they're doing this prison escape, and the guy who stamped it,
oh yeah,
they're like, "It's been approved."
yeah, as they're falling down this huge tower. And so they're falling and falling and falling and falling. And he's like, "Fly, bird." And so finally he flies a little bit and they fall down. And the bird looks like he's pretty badly hurt. But the two of them they're like, "Oh, he's alive. Let's go."
Yeah.
So their thing is that they don't hurt people. They just thieve. So, alrighty. So.
And by the way, the prison scene takes place in Icewind Dale.
Okay.
Just
for those of you who play Dungeons and Dragons,
yes, you probably heard.
You might have recognized that. I did not recognize it.
Yes.
Okay, so they get back to their old home, and his hound. It's been 2 years. His house is like ransacked. They see his loot, his instrument, in the house. He grabs that, but nothing else is in there. So they go to a tavern, and they're drinking and feeling sad and not sure what to do. And they see this flyer with Forge's face on it, and it's announcing a games that's coming up, like a big tournament.
The summer games.
Yeah. So they're like, "Okay, well, Kira's probably with him. Let's go talk to him." So they get there, and in fact, he is the Lord of Neverwinter. And they find that unfortunately, Safina, the sorceress, is his main counsel. Is that what he said?
Yes.
So she's like standing at his right side. And Kira's there, and unfortunately, Forge has been telling her that her dad's a bad guy this whole time, and that he only cares about money, and that Forge should be her true guardian, and so she's been poisoned against her dad.
Yeah.
So she's upset, and she leaves, and then Edgin stands up, and he's like, "No," and he's like trying to fight for her. And the sorceress lady traps the both of them into the ground.
Yes.
Holga. I kept wanting to say Helga in my mind every time I was writing her name down. Holga and Edgin are trapped in the floor. And Forge is like, so Forge is Hugh Grant, remember? And he's this very jovial, he's not serious, but he's not a good guy the whole time. So he's never like, "Oh, look at my evil intentions," but he's just like he's very Hugh Grant. So anyway, he's like, "Well, all right, well, let's send them back to prison. Bye, guys." And he's just laughing about it. And then instead, the sorceress tells her guards, "Actually, you're going to go kill them."
Yes.
And so, and she, by the way, is like, she has a lot of interesting makeup on. She doesn't say a lot of words. She's just like a very solemn creature. You almost feel like she might be undead. So the guards take them away, and they're about to be beheaded. And Holga distracts the guards and is talking to them about their axes. Very funny. Distracts them enough to shield herself when they go to bring the axe down, and then she beats them all up while Edgin just sits there.
Tries to take his the bindings off his arms.
Yeah, so he's like kind of useless.
Yeah.
So
remember, he's the planner.
Yes. His job is the
He's the
plan.
planning.
So, um, Forge tells Kira. So Forge goes to visit Kira in her bed, and she's like, "Well, I should probably go talk to my dad." And he's like, "Well, actually, he left you.
Yeah.
I gave him the tablet that he was here for, and he left." And so now she's like really heartbroken again. They decide they need to go find their friend, the sorcerer Simon, who they had in their crew previously, because they're like, well, we're going to need backup. We're going to need to do more stuff, right?
Yes.
So now they're building their crew back again. And they find him tricking crowds out of their money by kind of doing like parlor tricks, like really weak sauce magic tricks. But in the meantime, he's using a spell to pull all the gold out of their pockets and stuff. So, but they notice that, and then he sees them, and then it makes all the money fall to the ground. So the masses of people are angry at him, and they're all trying to attack him. And you see him do all these like different gravity spells, trying to get away from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Simon is like, Edgin believes in him so much that you have this feeling that he could be a great sorcerer, but he doesn't really have the confidence to do the magic the way he should, I guess.
Yeah.
So, Simon tells them about the rumor that Safina actually made the old lord of Neverwinter sick, and that's how Forge got to be lord in the first place.
Yes.
He suggests that they go recruit his friend Doric, who is a shapeshifter. Do they call her a druid? I can't remember.
They do. They call her a druid at one point. They also use a bunch of different names for her throughout.
Yeah. But her main thing is being able to change into any form.
Yes.
Like she's
Yes.
Beast Boy.
Yeah, but not green.
Yeah. So they go meet her, and she's kind of like, I don't really want to help you. I really just want to help defend my. They don't call them guild, but she's part of the Emerald Fortress. Emerald something.
Emerald Forest.
Emerald Forest. She's part of this group, like he was part of the Harpers, and she's wants to protect them because they took her in because she was born to human parents who didn't want her. She has like horns and a long tail or something,
Yeah.
and she's super cool, but they didn't want her. So
Yeah.
she wants to help the Emerald Forest.
And she's really pretty in this. I thought she was really pretty in her outfit there.
Mm-hmm.
I thought so.
Everyone's really pretty.
Was she more so than the others?
You're really pretty. So they convince her to go after we find out that Simon likes her, has tried to court her in the past, but she wants nothing to do with it because he has no confidence.
No confidence, yeah.
She ends up going into the fortress as a fly. She gets in there and she finds out about the magical like ward they have on the door to the vault.
Yeah, it's their vault.
The vault where what's inside?
So it's like all the
that's where the
treasure
tablet is and stuff.
well, the tablets in there, all the treasure, and then they're supposed to be having the tournaments, and so they're really overloaded with treasure right now from all the gambling and.
Mostly they're trying to get the tablet, right?
Yeah, and the money.
Okay, but Doric wouldn't have helped them if they were getting.
No, Doric wasn't there about that.
Okay.
She was just there to stop Forge.
Oh yeah, she wants Forge out of power because he's
Right.
bad for the. I was trying to figure out what the reason why she wanted
Yeah,
him.
so they were going to steal the gold,
Yeah.
so he didn't have any backing anymore.
That's right. Okay. So she is in there as a fly. Safina senses her and just does this scary scream thing at her. So she flies away. She's trying to escape, and she's like, "There's a wild thing in the fortress or whatever." She's trying to escape. She turns into a mouse. It's this whole chase scene. It's really cool. Safina keeps finding her, keeps almost killing her. She's trying to run away, but she's changed into like a bunch of stuff by the time she finally gets out of the fortress. So before she got found out when she was the fly, she discovered that the vault is protected by, I wrote, Morty Kanan's seal. Does that sound right?
It's close.
Okay. And in order to get through the seal, they're going to need the Helm of Disjunction. So I don't know.
Was it the Helm of Disjunction or the Helm of Dysfunction?
It said Disjunction.
It did.
So I don't play D&D, so I don't know. But a lot of this film is like, oh, we have this problem, so we need this thing. And then this problem, so we need this thing. And is that probably what D&D is like? You're like, oh, you have this problem. You're going to need to go here and get this thing.
It definitely can be, yeah.
That's what the whole film felt like to me.
There's a whole... when you play Dungeons & Dragons, there's a whole lot of setup. And it's like, oh, well, you're in a room and you're trapped. And the walls are closing in on you, and
Yeah.
then you have to find things and do things, and yeah. So yeah,
Yeah. So everybody, there's always like a solution to every problem, basically,
there is.
and somebody knows how to get it. So then most of them are like, how are we going to get to helm of disjunction? And is it Edgin says, oh, I know, it disappeared at this one place. And Holga's like, those are my people.
Yeah.
Let's go ask them. And then he's like, well, they're all dead. And the joke is that Simon should be able to just do anything with magic. And
everything.
And Doric's like, he just told you he can't do anything with magic. And he's like, actually, that I can do.
That's one thing I can do.
So now their new plan is they're going to go to this area where there's this big field of dead soldiers that fought in this battle. And it's Holga's ancestors. And they're going to go ask them if any of them have seen this helm.
Yeah.
So, anyway, on the way, Holga decides to stop at her ex-husband's house.
Yes.
So we know that she was outcast for being married to this man, and she chose him over her people.
Yes.
But then it created a lot of turmoil in her. But we don't know what to expect. We go into the house, and he's a person who is half the size of her.
Yeah, he's like a halfling.
I don't think I want to tell you who plays her husband.
Oh, you're not going to?
I think that's a nice surprise.
Okay,
I think because I didn't know that he was in the film.
I didn't either until I saw him, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I recognize him. Oh, yeah.
So a very famous actor plays her husband. They have a discussion, and she's just like, she's going there because she needs closure. And Edgin's like, don't put yourself through that. But we find out that she struggled so much after she left her people to be with him, but then she pursued this life of crime, and he didn't want her to do that, and he just wanted her to have a peaceful life, but she couldn't, and so he just couldn't be with her.
Yeah.
And so a new woman, even bigger than Holga, who is really not, I don't think she's a very big person. It's just in this movie she's wearing a lot of gear and stuff.
Yeah.
But they got an actual very tall woman, is now his new wife. And she's out like...
He's definitely got a thing for bigger women.
He's got a type. It's like the barbarian type.
Yes.
And he's happy to stay at home, and it sounds like cooking the food and hunter gathering, and she's... Or not hunter. And she's out there like slaughtering the animals and stuff. And the whole time Holga's looking at her like, really? Like, she's basically me. But, so anyway. So she leaves the house. She didn't really get closure. She's like, I'm going to go do this thing and show everybody that they shouldn't have left me or whatever. So I don't think she really got closure, but I don't know.
I don't know. I think maybe she did, though, because, I don't know, she's pretty sad when she walked out. And I really loved this part because Chris Pine does something that is amazing to me. So he starts playing the lute on horseback, right? And he starts singing, and he gets Holga to sing with him. And so they're singing this song, and he's just riding along, strumming this lute. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't ride a horse holding on.
He's got some strong thighs.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, Chris Pine, you do everything, man.
Well, for one thing, they were only like barely walking.
Yeah, but have you ever ridden a horse?
It's been a long time.
Yeah. Well, you need to get back up on that horse.
Okay, I will. Okay. I need some gear. I need to be geared up like Holga. That's my goal.
I would buy you that gear.
Okay, so yeah, he cheers her up by singing a song, and he gets her to sing with him, and it sounds like it's like their song.
It is their song.
Yeah.
Because they sing it at the end too.
Okay, so they go dig up a dead person.
Yes.
Simon has a token, and it lets him ask that person 5 questions.
5 questions and 5 questions only.
They'll go back to being dead, and you can't ask them any more questions. So they learn to be really careful with their questions and not waste them.
After the first one.
Right. But so they keep asking, and this part's so funny. I love this part. But they keep asking a person questions, and they find out, okay, the helm actually got passed this way because everybody just keeps getting slaughtered, and the helm just keeps passing, and sometimes they're opening the wrong grave, and that part's really great. So eventually they find out that the helm...
I like the one where he was like, oh no, I'm Sven. You're looking for my brother Ven.
Yeah. Because that guy just died by hitting his head on a bathtub or something.
Yeah. He got out of the bathtub and hit his head.
And they're like, well, what did you do with the helm? It was funny. So, Zank, his name is Zank, and that's who Reggae Jean is playing. So Zank, he is a paladin, and he is a kind Thayan. So the people of the Thayans, apparently they're pretty not cool.
Not
But
cool at
Zank
all.
is one of their paladins, and he's a good, kind
He's
man.
a good guy. He's a good guy. I liked him.
But they assume that he's a bad guy because their people are notorious or something.
Well, I think the reason they assumed he's a bad guy is because of Chris Pine.
Oh yeah.
Chris Pine has an axe to grind against them.
Did we find out what it was?
Yeah, they killed his wife.
I thought it was the red sorcerer people.
Yeah, the Red Sorcerer are Thanes as well.
Oh, they come from there.
Yes.
That's right, because we find out later about how his people all got changed, and he got that thingy on it, but it
Yes.
just brushed right over that.
Yeah.
So the final corpse tells them that Zank has the helm, so they know they
Yes.
need to go find him. Ed thinks he'll be betraying his wife if they go ask him for help, so he doesn't want to
Right.
because they killed her. So somebody convinces him that it's going to be okay, so they go ahead and go try to find him. They reach him and assure him that their pursuit is noble because he's not like, I'm not going to help you thieves.
Yeah.
Like, if you actually have a noble thing, I'll help you. So they know that he's a super good fighter. He also can, like, talk to people and calm them.
Talk to animals.
He seems like pretty OP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a few more talents than paladins are supposed to have.
Well, you know.
I mean, that whole talking to animals thing, that was kind of.
It's a different universe.
Yeah,
Paladins
but
can do what they want.
in Dungeons and Dragons, that doesn't really fly.
Well, none of the people in here are healers, and aren't paladins supposed to be healers?
They are.
Okay. He just traded that skill for talking to animals.
Oh, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Um,
I didn't realize you could just trade skills like that.
So he tells them about his origin story, basically. He says there's a necromancer named Zess Tam who's working with the Red Wizards to create an army of the undead.
Undeads.
And actually, the Thane were getting turned into, and he got away. And he
Yes.
has this tattoo on his forehead. It just shows up in the backstory. It doesn't say why he has a tattoo, but I think that through that he also got like powers of the paladin powers of the paladin. So that's
Sure,
good.
sure.
Zank makes Ed swear that if he helps him, he's going to give all of the gold from Forge that he's going to steal from him when he gets there. He's going to give it back to the people of Neverwinter. And he's like, You
Yes.
have to promise. And he's like, I believe you. I know you're going to do this.
Yeah.
So they're going to follow Zank to the Underdark, where he says is where he hid the helm.
Yes. Bum bum bum.
And they have to go through the orifice to get them to the Underdark.
Yes.
And he just like falls backwards through this hole in the ground.
Yeah.
And now they're underground, and there's like a city of, I don't think I wrote it down. The Hanging City of Undead or something like that. I don't know.
I'm not sure what it was.
Oh, and in the meantime, I don't know if I wrote this, but Safina, is that her name? She sends this assassin to go hunt them down and stop them. So they're down there, and Zank is a very serious person, and he's telling them, okay, so see this bridge? There's this really unique set of things we have to step on. Think like Indiana Jones, like where you have to step a certain way so you don't signal the booby trap or start the booby trap or whatever. And Simon just like steps on one stone while he's listening, and the whole bridge falls apart. So now they're like, great, what are we gonna do? So I keep wanting to call her Michelle. Holga, she's looking through her bag. She's like, oh, I probably got something in here that can help. And Simon goes, what's that? And she pulls out this thing that kind of looks like a magic wand. And he's like, no, that's a hither-thither stick or something, a hither stick. And, I wrote down hither-thither stick. And he twists it, and it glows magic. And basically, it's like the game Portal.
Portal, yeah.
So he can cast it on, like, the wall and then cast it somewhere else. And now you can go directly from those two places.
Yeah. And he's like, see, we don't need a bridge.
I know, which is so perfect because they have this exact problem. And he's like, oh, here's a solution for it. So they port themselves over there. They get over there, and Zank is like, I smell evil. And the assassin is caught up with them. So the assassin's there, and he's brought like 5 people. And Zank easily just dispatches all of them.
Yeah, dismantles them.
They're dead. And then Edgin's like, oh, cool, great. And he's just going to like mosey around, and Zank's like, no, we got to get out of here because they're undead. So they're just going to come right back to life. So sure enough, they just wake right back up. And suddenly there's this big rumbling from a cave nearby, and you see this like head of a dragon start coming out. You're like, great, there's a dragon, but no, it's like the biggest, fattest dragon you've ever seen. Like he has
This
his
dragon's
head,
fat.
and then his whole body is like 10 times the size of his head. And
Yeah.
Joy loves this dragon, by the way. She was there with us, and she
It
was
was
like,
funny.
the super fat dragon, I love him. So anyway, he starts coming out, and he's breaking out of this cave. Like he's in an enclosed area, and to get his whole body out, he basically breaks open the
He
cave.
does. He
And he
does.
starts sliding down the hill. He's not even like walking, he's just sliding.
I don't think he can walk.
Well, he was chasing him at one point. He was like
Yeah.
slowly like fall chasing and like gobbling a few of the bad guys. My notes say they escape and Zank leaves.
Well, they do escape,
Do you have
and
anything
Zank
else to
does
say
leave.
about that? This is a really funny part. So there's a bunch of stuff that happens, but eventually they get out of the cave. There's like a
Yeah.
thing where they have to light up fire, and the dragon breathes fire, and then
Yeah,
they
so
float up to the top of a
they're in
river.
this chamber, and there's salt water that starts pouring in on them, and so they realize that they're underwater,
Okay.
and it's obviously not that thick. So the dragon has like these sparks, but it
Yeah.
can't get the whole fire to come out for
Okay.
most of it. And so they're like, "Oh, Simon, you remember that trick where you have the candle flame off the tip of your finger?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I tell you, everybody's going to jump under the water, and you're going to put that flame up over top of it." And
Yeah.
so they do, and the explosion from the dragon's breath blows out a hole, and they float up through the ocean.
So how come the dragon just couldn't come out too then?
That's a fat dragon. That was a small tunnel they were in.
Well, I promised Joy that the dragon was safe. We were sure he was going to come back at the end.
Well, there was a lot of cave for that
Yeah.
water to
Yeah.
drift into, so
Yeah.
yeah, it was just a really small part that they were in.
So they're on the surface level, and Zank is like, okay, I helped you do your stuff. I'm going to leave now. And
Yeah.
he just leaves. And they're like, well, you're really awesome. Too
And
bad you
this
can't
is
help
funny
us.
too. This is funny too because he's like walking, and Elgin's like, he just walks in a straight line, and he's like, oh wait, there's a boulder coming up. What's he gonna do? And Zank just goes up and over the boulder, just
Yeah.
in a straight line.
Yeah, like the dude, once he gets like a path in his mind, he does it and he doesn't deviate.
Yeah.
So Simon puts on the helm, and so the whole plan was for Simon to get the helm, attune himself to the helm, and then he can
Yes.
use it to open the thing that's on the vault.
Well, so the helmet itself nullifies magic in the
Oh.
area, and so that's how they were going to open the vault is by nullifying that
Oh.
magic.
But the user has to be able to work the helm.
Yes.
Okay. So originally, when Edgin thought of this plan, or whoever it was thought of it, Simon was like, well, it's not going to matter.
It was clearly Elgin because he's the planner.
Yeah. It's his, by the way, the way I remember his name is Edgin is because they keep calling him Ed. So if I say Ed, I'm talking about the main character.
Oh, what do I keep calling him?
Well, you said Elgin, but I was just going to explain.
Oh, okay.
Because Holga likes to call him Ed. So Simon had already told him, even if you get this, I won't be able to attune to it.
Yeah.
And he's like, yes, you can. I have faith
I have
in you.
faith
Like,
in you.
Yeah,
you
you'll
can do
totally
it.
do
You
it.
can totally do
So
this.
he tries to put the helm on, and he's in a dream space, and he meets this personage, and he's like, hey, I thought you'd be here, but guess what? You can't use this. Like, you just can't. You can't do it.
Yeah.
And so the helm just shoots off of him, and he's back into life with his friends, and he's cast back on the ground, and they're like, did you do it? He's like, no, I can't attune to it. And he's like, try it again. So it shows him put it on, and it's immediately just thrown back off because
Yeah.
it's like a second for them. But it's time that he's talking with this person in his vision.
Who happens to be his grandfather.
Well, he says, oh, you have the same name as me. You're my great-grandfather.
Right.
But it's not, you don't think that it's his, I mean, I didn't think it was his
I did.
great-grandfather. Okay. Well, so he's like, just keep trying. And Ed says, go keep trying. And he goes and lays down. And
he's like, well, we have 6 hours.
Mm-hmm. Just keep trying.
Just keep trying.
So like, he just doesn't stress about stuff, which I like. I like a non-stressor. That helps a stressful person.
That's probably why she likes me.
So he lays down, and he has a dream when he falls asleep, and he dreams of his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like trying to catch this dragonfly together. And this dragonfly shows up. It's kind of like, you know how...
It's throughout the whole movie
Yeah.
that dragonfly is, though.
Yeah. So sometimes when you have a family member who passed, I don't know if you've experienced this, but they'll say, whenever you see this thing, just know it's me and I'm thinking of you. And so
Yeah.
he always thinks about his wife whenever he sees this dragonfly. So he has this dream about how they're trying to get this dragonfly, and she says, just open the window and let it out. Like, you just need to let it go.
Yeah.
And so it's trying to tell him he needs to let her go.
Yeah.
Because he's trying so hard to get her back, but his daughter is maybe, what, 12, 13, 14?
Yeah, around there.
And it's been that long since she's been passed, and the
Yeah.
message is you need to let her go.
Yeah.
So,
Because I think one of the takeaways too is like Kira, that's his daughter, has only known
she's,
two parents,
yeah.
and it's Edgin and Holga.
Mm-hmm.
So for her, she doesn't really miss her mother because she had that mother figure.
Exactly. Yeah. So for Kira, it makes it even less important. Where she's like, "Why is he trying so hard to do this?
Yes,
and he's leaving me to go do this thing." And so that builds on that story. So Ed Peps talks to them, and he's like, "Never get up, never give up. But we're gonna have to pick back up after each failure," which I like because that's actually, that's probably the main takeaway from this film. Is he's like, "We're gonna fail over and over and over and over."
Yes.
And failure is okay. You just pick yourself back up after you do.
I kind of like how he phrased it too, because he was like, it's only when you stop failing that you failed.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's meant to be a joke, but actually, like, it's exactly true.
It's really true.
Yeah. So it's nice. Ed's a cool dude.
He is.
So they devise a plan to put a portal on a piece of treasure which is being put in the vault. So this whole part was a little hard for me to track.
Why?
So their plan is they can't get into the vault, but what if they put something in there and then they can just pour into there and get the thing?
Yes.
So they find this picture of this man and they take off, it's in a round frame, and they take off the picture, and behind it they cast the portal, and then they put the man's picture back up. Right?
Well, not at first.
Oh, they don't put his face back up?
Not at first.
Why?
Remember, because then she takes like that sap and puts it around the picture frame.
Yeah, what was the point of that?
So what the point of that was they created a portal so that they could get into the carriage that they're doing. And
they put it on the bottom of the.
They put it on the bottom, and then they took away like the planks so that Doric could get in, and then they put the portal thing in and put it face down so that they could put the nails and stuff back in so that they could seal up the bottom.
If they could get to the carriage enough to take off the bottom of the thing, why not just put the picture in there and leave it alone?
Well, they were. So they had to. So basically, they had to put this picture on the bottom of the carriage, and then open the carriage by removing the boards, to be able to get Doric inside, to then pull the picture frame free and pull it in, and then they place it face down because the other team has the boards, and they put the boards back in place.
All right.
And then she puts the
I just thought they would be able to just sneak up to the carriage and put it in there.
So is that how you think that it works? Like, hey guys, hold on, I've got some more gold for you to put in that carriage.
Anyway, it was really convoluted. It was
was
exciting to watch, but it was like, what is going on? And then she just flew away after, and I was like, what the heck was the point of that?
She flew away because her job was done. The painting was actually in the treasure trove area.
I think because I was looking down, taking notes and stuff, I just assumed that was already in the carriage. And I was like, why are they going to the carriage, attaching themselves to the carriage, her going in and doing all that stuff if the thing was already in the carriage?
No, they had to put it in the carriage.
Okay.
But then they had to seal the carriage back up like nothing had happened.
Right.
And so that's why they did that. And then she was able to turn into a fly and leave, so no one knew that anything had been added.
So Forge is having this whole game tournament challenge thing that's happening.
Yes.
We find out later, but it's going to be a maze, and there's teams of
like 5. Like the Hunger Games, kind of.
Yeah, it's similar to that. Or Maze Runner. Yeah. There's teams, and they have to maneuver themselves through this maze and, like, be the last ones alive or something.
I guess.
I don't know. Anyway, that's what's happening. And rich people are coming to his land to bet on
Yeah.
the tournament, and that's why there's going to be so much money there. They go ahead and try to do their plan, but the portal, the picture has been put face down on the ground in the vault, so
Yes,
they
it
can't
has.
actually do their plan of going through because they just are facing a stone ground.
Yes.
And so Ed goes, okay, it's time for plan C. This part's really funny too. Plan C is actually back to plan A, and he's like, okay, Simon, you have to attune with the helm. And so they're like, we did all of that for nothing. That's what I'm thinking. And so Doric,
the other part that's so funny about this is they're all like, that sounds a lot like Plan A.
yeah,
And he's like, it is Plan A, but what was he saying? It's Plan A failed or something.
I don't know, but he's
Yeah.
like A, and then he's got B, C, D, E. So Doric decides that she's going to sit there and chisel away at the rock. She just
Yes.
has to get a tiny bit so she can turn into a worm, slide through, and
Yes.
be in the vault room. But Simon, in the meantime, Simon's going to try to attune with the helm.
He is.
So they decide that Simon has to attune, but they have to get past these guards. So this part was so funny too. This is my favorite part of the whole thing. So Ed is a bard. So he comes out playing his lute and he's like singing a song,
yes.
and all of the guards come over to him. He's attracted them all, and then all of a sudden, like, he just starts glitching. He's like in the song, and we're like, what's going on? And now his face is like melting morphine,
and just like,
and we're like, what? And then it shows the group, and Simon is actually casting an enchantment, so it's like a hologram kind of thing that they're watching that's malfunctioning because Simon's foot is stuck.
Yeah.
And so they pull him loose, but not before the guards see them, and so it didn't actually work, and the guards are chasing them. So Holga's got to fight them all off. Simon's running up the tower. He wants to go find Kira because he's got to try to go to explain to her what's happening, and he wants to get her out of there.
You said Simon.
Sorry. So Ed's running up the tower going to try to find Kira because he needs to rescue her. So Simon ends up attuning with the helm.
Yes.
Because he gets in there again. He's really mad this time. He's really frustrated. He has a time crunch. And so he hits the guy that's telling him, you can't do it. You're not good.
Well, also he's kind of caught because the guards all catch him right in front of the vault door.
Oh, so he like has to do it or he's about to die.
Yes. Yeah.
So he hits the guy and he's like, no, you have to let me. When he hits him, it actually turns into himself. And
Right.
he's like, that was about time. And so he got to attune it when his own self could tell that he was capable of controlling the helm. So he puts it on and it nullifies then. That's what's happening. So how do the guards all die? Holga has caught up and she kills them?
I don't remember.
I think that must be what happens because she's with him at that part.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, so then he tells her, he's like, yeah, actually, I was just in my own way the whole time, which is really cute because that's what was happening.
And a lot of times that's what happens in life. We each get in our own way, or we're in our own heads.
Yeah.
So at this point, Doric has finally tunneled or dug enough that she can tunnel in. And so she goes back into her human form. And they have these stones. They're like walkie-talkie stones.
They're only going to work for an
hour. And so Doric is like, "Okay, guys, I'm in the vault."
Where are you? Because she thought she was going where they were going.
Yeah, and Simon and Holga are also there in a vault, and they're like, "We're in the vault."
There's nothing. And
there's nothing in their vault. And so they're all like, what's going on? How are we all in a vault, but we're in different vaults?
Yeah.
So
tentacles rise up from the ground and trap Holga and Simon. So she's trapped again. And then does Doric get knocked out by somebody?
She does. She follows the men that are doing the...
Yeah, the men taking the treasure out of the vault.
They're taking it out and they're putting it into a boat. And she sees that and then somebody hits her on the back of the head.
Yeah. And then Edgin is up talking to Kira, and he's like, he's trying to explain to her that he's actually a good guy, and all of a sudden she morphs into Safina.
Yes.
And it's actually the evil witch, and he's trapped too. He gets trapped in the tentacles, and Forge walks in. And Ed tells Forge, it says, at least let us die with dignity and let us fight in the arena.
Yes.
Yeah. And Forge almost says, no, you don't, you're going to die worse if you do that. And we could tell before that the way that Safina is going to get what she wants is that if there's a whole bunch of people there, we can tell that they're all being like gathered around for something.
So one of the things that you can tell, and you know this when they flash back to Zank when he was a kid and what happened
Mm-hmm.
to the Thans. Um, the person who turned them all into zombies had this horn.
Yeah.
They had like a red glow through it,
Mm-hmm.
and that was what Safina wanted from
The
the vault.
Harpers. Yeah.
And so now she has that, and so you kind of clued in right there.
Yeah.
Okay, we're about to do the same thing because she's wanting everybody gathered in from the
Mm-hmm.
city into one spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Forge is like, no, actually, you're gonna have a worse death if you go there. But he stops himself because she glares at him, and she's like, no, they are gonna go fight in the arena.
Yeah.
So now she's not gonna kill them. Hooray, they escaped again. But now they're gonna be one of the teams that are fighting in this maze.
Yes.
So they're taken down there, and we find out that Forge is stealing all the loot that the people have brought for betting in the games. That's why those people are transporting the loot. So Forge's plan is this thing: get all the people there, get all their money, and steal it. Safina's plan is going to be kill all the people.
Yes.
So they go into the games, and they all have a magic cuff on so that they can't, any of them, use magic.
Well, it's just on Doric and Simon. The other
okay.
two don't have one because they don't
magic.
use magic.
Okay. So they have to run through the maze with their team while being chased by monsters. They encounter chests, which I thought was really cute. Some have loot or weapons, and some have enemies in them, which would be typical to play in a game, right?
Right. And so if you've ever been playing D&D and you opened one of those chests and it was a chest monster, they have them in this video.
Yeah, it's cute.
It was.
So Forge approaches Safina, and he says he and Kira are leaving by ship, and she's just like, "Scram, get out of here!
Right.
You know, you're not part of my plan anymore." Doric's magic inhibitor gets pulled off in this glue stuff. There's like a trap thingy where you can fall in and you get disintegrated.
Yes.
But she pulls her hand out of it, and the cuff goes with it. So now she has her magic back.
It's like a sludge, but it's in a cube shape.
So this next part was not really clear to me how they got out to the ship. But she was like, we're all going to fall into this ooze. I'm going to change and get us out of the ooze. And then suddenly they were in a different place. They were like behind the maze or something?
So what they did was, if you remember the maze, like every time it gonged, the outside layer shifted down into the ground.
So it was getting smaller and smaller?
So the maze was getting smaller and smaller as they went.
What would be the point of that?
Because at the end, there will be no maze, and whoever's left,
the monsters
would get them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there wasn't really a winner at this game except for, the betters.
The people watching?
Yes.
Okay. So they were just betting on who would last the longest?
Yes.
Okay, so she convinces them to all go through this ooze.
So what she does is she waits until they're right in front of an ooze that's in the
that's going to go down
rim.
below.
It's going to go down below.
Oh.
And so when it gongs, she has everybody jump in, and then she comes out.
She comes out as a snake.
Yeah.
She comes out on the other side and then starts pulling them out
one
by
one.
Them out. And she knows they can only stay in for a very short period of time because they'll just get dissolved.
They'll start dissolving, yes.
So they're out. I just kept laughing because the film is like, oh, there's a problem. Oh, you're saved. Oh, there's a problem. You're saved.
Well, the other problem, too, is once they got down below, then they heard the gong, and they're like, we got to run because the next layer is crashing down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then they run out the side.
One of the problems with taking notes is I was constantly like this. Like, I was trying not to miss anything.
Yeah.
So, they get out to the ship before Forge and Kira get there.
Yes.
And they're already on the ship. And Kira and Forge are like, wait, what are you doing here? And I was like, wait, what are you doing here? And all of a sudden he grabs Kira and holds the knife to her throat and threatens.
Who does?
Forge, and threatens to kill her if they don't give him all of his loot and get off of his boat.
Yes.
So Forge has got her, and Holga looks down and sees a pile of potatoes, and she chucks one at his head, but it goes in slow motion, and it's so funny. He just gets smashed in the head, and they rescue Kira.
Yeah.
And do they knock him unconscious or something?
No. So they all get on the boat, and they're going to leave the city with all of his loot.
Oh yeah.
And Simon brings this like tidal wave
To push the
to
boat
push the
forward.
boat
Yeah.
forward. And as they're doing that,
It knocks over
Forge is like getting a crossbow ready to shoot them,
Mm-hmm.
and the wave crashes down on him.
Yeah. So they're in this. They're going across the ocean and they're like, "Ooh, look at all this treasure!" And I'm thinking, "Oh, they've got to talk about how to get it back to the people now." But they look and they see the beaconing death is what it's called coming for the people in the arena. So she's up, Safina's up there in the arena and she's got the horn thing, and she's like, or I don't think she put the horn up yet, but she's like casting this smoke finger.
Yeah.
It's coming down. It's about to get on all the people in the arena, and they see it and they're like, "Oh, great!" And so they turn the boat around and they're like, "How are we going to solve this problem?" And he's like, "Well, actually, I have an idea about how I can keep my promise to Zank." So they use the hither thither to put a portal up on an air balloon with Forge's face.
Yeah, Forge's face, and it's in his mouth.
Yeah.
So it's his mouth now as the.
And so then they've cut a hole in the bottom of the boat or something.
No, so they put the portal on the bottom of the boat as well. So that.
Well, that's like cutting a hole basically. So the portal's on the bottom, so they can push all the loot down there, and now it's falling out the top of the balloon onto all the people.
Yes.
So now the people all start rushing out of the arena back into the city to get the loot. So he's accomplished both things.
Yes.
With one thing.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, Safina, she has got the horn and she's pulling the thing and she's creating the death zombies with the people around her.
Yes.
But just like the main betters people, like the people that are playing the game. So Safina's super mad. I don't know why.
You don't? Are you serious?
Joking.
Okay.
So then Ed's like, "Okay, we have to fight this lady," and he tells Kira, "Use your pendant." She has this pendant that Holga found for her in one of their trips.
One of their smash and grabs.
Yeah, exactly. And it gives Kira the ability to apparate at any time.
Apparate?
Disappear, apparate, and disapparate.
Okay.
So, so she disappears, and Safina makes a stone dragon to fight them because Dork has turned herself into an owlbear. So she animates this stone dragon, which starts fighting Dork. Because Dork's creature that she uses for the most destruction is a really big owlbear thing.
Really big.
They're having a magical battle, and Ed and Holga are running inside a glass ball conjured by Safina. So you have the comic relief, and then you have Simon and Safina, and they're both, trying to kill each other because they both have these giant hands that they've conjured.
Yeah.
His are made of stones. Hers is made of like blood veins.
Like fire or blood or
and they're like trying to attack each other with these hands. At this point, they've all kind of like surrounded her and they're just trying to attack her from all sides. And it almost looks like they might have her. And then she's like, "Enough!" And she puts a time spell on them again.
Yes.
And they all get stuck in this time spell. And she's walking up to him and she just starts turning darker and more evil the more closer she gets to him. And she's like, "I'm gonna murder you." And then he says,
"You have really bad breath."
Yeah, and I had actually been thinking that right before he said that. I was like, she keeps whispering and like spitting right in his face.
Yeah.
And now we're like, oh, he's not frozen. I wonder how not. And it was because Kira had appeared and put a magic cuff on her.
Yes.
And they were actually just pretending to be in her time spell that whole time. So while they were all attacking her, Kira had come up and put a cuff on her.
Yep.
So they were all just going like this and pretending that they were frozen, which was really cute. And they were like, oh, and then right after that happened, the owl beast comes and grabs her and just starts smashing her, and like totally like Hulk, like
I was just thinking that too. It's like the Hulk smashing Loki.
Yeah. And so then you think she's dead, and then she's like, and then she just keeps smashing her more and throws her against the wall and everything. And they look at Ed and they're like, what did you say? Something like, "I told you that was gonna work," or something. I don't know. It was funny because then you find out.
No, I think he said, "I didn't even think that was going to work."
Oh yeah.
Ed says that, and they're all like, "But you told us it was going to work."
Yeah, it was funny. So then, we look over and we discover that Holga's been stabbed by one of the Safina's red blades, and her body is. The veins are like all turning black, just like the way that his wife did in the very beginning. And so she's about to die because Simon's like, "I can't do anything. There's nothing you can do to fight the the wound from the road. And so she starts singing their song together, and it's like it's really sad. And Kira's holding
Did it really
her.
give you like the feels at
Oh
that point?
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, and even more right after this. So then she basically dies, and then we have flashbacks of Holga's life with Kira and
Yes.
all the memories that they made together. And Kira's so sad because this is her mom. And this whole time, Ed's been focused on getting her mom back, which is her bio mom and his wife. But, you know,
But
Holga has been
yeah.
her adoptive mom basically her whole life and been there for her every day. So
Yes.
you see all the flashbacks, and that's when it made me cry. And then Ed's just like, okay. So he decides he's going to use the Tablet of Resurrection
Yes.
on Holga. And he's like, we can only use this once. And he told Kira, and she's like, do it. So then they res her, and she goes, don't tell me you wasted it on me. And I was just like, oh. So then it jumps to Zank capturing Forge, and we hear Forge is narrating stuff now. Like, at first I recognized, I was like, oh, that's an interesting voice change there in the narration. And Zank had captured him when he was trying to run away with this giant, what was it
A
called?
vase. It was like a giant chalice, but it's like 4 foot
It
tall.
was so funny. He's running through the forest with this huge piece of gold or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
and he trips. And Zank comes up on him and he's like, hello. And so then you find out that you're hearing the narration of Forge talking to the members of the parole board in prison. So
Yes.
it makes a full circle, and it's really funny. So he's telling them the story and why he should be pardoned at his trial, and they deny him. And he tries to jump on the bird Jarnathan and fly out the window. And the same lady from the beginning that's like, not Jarnathan, she says it again. And instead, the one right behind the window is a big brick wall. So they just smash right into the wall
Yeah.
instead of falling through the thing. And and Forge is like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. But it's just so funny. And they cart him back away. And that's the end.
Yeah.
That's the end. There's one mid-credit sequence which is doesn't really have anything to do with the story. So I'll just
Not at
you
all.
can wait and watch it, and I
Yeah,
won't
but
go
it
over
is
it.
funny. It is funny.
I mean, it's okay. It's not as funny as not Jonathan.
Okay, I can give you that. I can give you that.
So that is your whole recap.
That is.
That's the
That
whole movie for you.
spoilers and everything.
Yep. So we really enjoyed that. I was really glad that we.
So, what was the one scene that stuck with you the most?
Well, I made a note of it when I was taking. My favorite scene was the bard and how he was melting, and I was just dying. It
Yeah,
was
that
so
was
funny.
that was a really funny scene.
Yeah.
I think for me it was the fat dragon.
The fat dragon was so funny.
It was hilarious.
Because you've never seen a dragon in a story like this look like that.
Oh my goodness, it was like
Because it can't fly. It's so heavy. There's no way it could fly.
It was huge.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So, what are our other questions? Would you watch this again?
I would watch it again.
Me
We
too.
usually ask if our opinion changed. I don't think that my opinion did change. I hoped it was going to be great, and now I know it's great.
Mm,
So that's the only way it changed. I didn't anticipate it was going to be bad or anything.
sure.
So I was really excited, and I'm really happy that
Yeah,
we had such a good time.
I was really excited for it too. I think it was a really fun movie, and there's a lot of action. There's a lot of not so much on the feels. There's a few of them.
Yeah, especially at the end. But yeah, you're right. That's not the main thing.
Yeah, it's not the main thing, but like it's literally having fun the whole way through the movie.
Just action and comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no romance really.
Not really, not really.
Holga finds another, what did you call it, halfling?
A halfling.
At the end, and she's like, yeah.
Yeah.
She has a type too.
Yes,
so,
she does.
The director.
Oh, and there was one other romance scene.
Oh my gosh! The director of this movie.
What about him?
He's from Bones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's the sidekick on Bones.
Is he not the one that becomes the serial killer?
No, that's a different one.
Oh, okay.
That's from the very beginning.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna I'll put it up on the screen. Anyway, I have put it up there by now. That makes me like this even more.
Okay.
That guy went on to direct this film.
Nice.
That made me really happy.
So would you watch more films
Yeah.
by him?
I'm trying to see if he's actually directed any other movies.
But yeah, it was a really fun movie. It was really entertaining. I loved how they did use a bunch of different places that you would find in Dungeons and Dragons, Icewind Dale, Baldur's Gate, and some other ones.
There's 2 directors of this movie, by the way. 2 writers, 2 directors. The other one, he's the director of Spider-Man Homecoming, 2017.
Okay.
Horrible Bosses, 2011. And Game Night, 2018.
I've watched all of those. Yeah.
Good times. We would watch other things.
Apparently.
So we recommend that you go see this film. So it should be coming out in all the theaters, I imagine, near you.
March 31st.
March 31st. I feel like it is a pretty good one to watch in the theater. I mean, I would still enjoy it in our home theater.
I think so too.
But yeah, the movies, it was a good time.
And even if you've watched this review, I would say go watch the movie.
Oh yeah, you'll still like it.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
So, the next video that you should see on our channel is our March after just one episode, where we talk about 9 more TV shows that we watched recently, because that hasn't gone up yet.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we liked a few.
We did. We liked and watched all of a few, I think.
Yeah, you'll have to tune in and see which ones those are.
The next deep dive and discussion that you're going to get from us is for the book The Ninth House by Lee Bardugo. Tim will be leading that discussion. I think he's almost finished reading it.
About halfway through.
Yeah. So that's what you can look forward from us very soon. And that's going to be it for this video.
Yeah, that's a wrap, guys.
So thanks for joining us. Leave any comments, questions that you have down below. Let us know what movie or book you want us to watch next, or any TV shows that we need to check out so that you don't have to watch them.
Yep.
So don't forget to like and subscribe. Share with your friends if you enjoyed. We'll see you back for another one very soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Yep.
And take care.
Go watch this movie.
Yeah. See you later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.